Hi there, my name is Martin and I work as a UX UI designer by trade. I'm not a game developer, I don't work with games, I work with other products and services. But my background with Overwatch is that I've played it since I think the first beta weekend, and with the launch of Overwatch 2, a lot of changes was made in the UI. And as a UX UI designer, there are a bunch of smaller things that can be improved. And the season has gone on, but the things have not been improved on. So I'm making this video in hope it reaches someone who firstly finds it interesting, but better yet, a developer who can work on it. I understand that these details might not be the top priority compared to larger game features, but if you make all these small UX UI improvements, they really add up to a big impact over time. So this video is a list of quick UX UI tweaks that aims to improve the game in its current state. It is semi-prepared. It mainly goes straight from the top of my head. I have some slides, I have some prototypes, but mainly just talk from my head. The video is not about redesigning the entirety of the UI, because that's really costly, or about finding smaller things that you can do to improve the overall experience. All the solutions are not 100% well thought out. They are more meant to be a starting point that you can use and iterate and create better solutions. Overall, the presentation is quite sloppy. It's a lot of copy-paste design, and that is not the goal to show exactly the perfect pixel perfect design in everything. It's more of creating quality of life suggestions for the game. So with that out of the way, let's start. Okay, so let's start with interaction pattern. What am I talking about then? I mean when you interact with button, input fields and other objects. And the two interaction patterns I want to talk about is the hover effect and also the select pattern. The hover is when you have a pointer that is being placed over an object. The select is when an object is currently selected. So let's jump into the game and look a little. So now we are in game. We can see if we hover over, for example, this object, you see this white border. This object also has this glowing white border, and the objects also increase in size. That's one hover pattern. But if you interact with this one, you get a pop-up, and this cyan color also has a cyan color with the same pop-up. It also has a cyan color. This object has no interaction on it, it only has a pop-up. If I interact here, this white indicator. This only changes in size. It changed a little bit in opacity of the gray outline. It becomes white. But there are very different kind of hover interactions. And if you go into, for example, challenges, you can see that this cyan pattern with the object being increased in size and having a cyan stroke, that is something that is one of the main ways of having hover in the game. If we go in, for example, in the menu, you can see that we have this same pattern, but there are some kind of objects who don't have anything on them. This doesn't indicate anything, it's just this white glowing thing. The cyan color disappears, and we also have this object that uses another pattern. So you can see that there are a lot of different ways of interacting with objects that are similar, like there are buttons, there are input fields, and also different cards. When you go into the shop, you don't have this cyan pattern at all. You only have this increase in size and this white pattern. And it doesn't really matter if the object on the card is dark or light. You'll have this white pattern. And this can be really troublesome. For example, if you look at here, if you have a white object and you have this cyan that is pretty light, a light color, for people with color deficiencies, it's hard to see this. And this is something that I want to address. So let's jump back into Figma. So what do we want to solve with these changes? We want to increase the ease of use and visual clarity and decrease cognitive load. That means that we want to make it more consistent. We want it much easier to see what object is selected and what object is hovered on and so forth. I know that I've not talked so much about selection. Selection is often used in events, and currently there are no events, so I will not be able to show an example of that in the game currently. And in the end, we have this last step that I talked about. We want to make it more accessible. We want it to, if you have some kind of color deficiency, we want to make it easier to see. So how do we do that? Firstly, if we look at the game, we already have something that we can use. When you're in game and you hover over people, you can see that this indicator has a 3-stroke. This card has a 3-stroke design. Firstly, it has a dark color, and then it has this light cyan color. And when you have this dark color, it contrasts really great with whatever is in here. And then you have this color, which contrasts with, if the color here would be a darker color, then these wouldn't contrast so well, but this color contrasts with that. We can use this as a basis. So for example, here we have a orange button, a white button, this kind of transparent button, and a card. If we use this pattern of having the dark blue color and then the cyan stroke side, we can see that with this kind of interaction, it's easy to see. Even if we have this light color, we can see that the contrast is quite well, and also it works on cards and so forth. This can be evolved with also the selection pattern. You use this primary color that is in everything Overwatch, this orange color. We can use that as a selection color and use it also on other things, but we will go into that later. But how does this look in game? I have made a little prototype here so you can see. So for example, here we are in the socials menu. This menu, I think it's quite good. It's okay. The color contrast could be better, so this could be a dark color when interact, but it's another thing. Otherwise, we have added this hover indicator. So here you can see, for example, with this, we use this hover indicator to indicate hover active. And you can see it also works on these kind of objects, works on this object, and it works on this object, and it's the same hover interaction pattern. As you might notice, there aren't any like bigger scaling of the objects when I hover over them. That's because I'm just lazy. But I feel the increase in size when hovering is quite dramatic in the game currently, so they maybe should tone that down a little bit just to make it more polished and make it not so in your face when you interact with different objects. Here you can see we can go into the settings menu. As you saw earlier, for example, these buttons didn't have anything, but with this pattern it's easy to see what is selected and what is hovered and what is not. And for the event, we can see here we have an event window where we have a lot of different interactable objects that use the same pattern. This can also use the same pattern. This is the same pattern. And for the selection, easier to see that this object is now selected. Even though it uses a very dark color, it contrasts great with the orange. And if we had a light color here, there is a stroke between the orange and the object color here, which is the same, which is this dark blue. Even though this object would have been white, it would have contrasted greatly with this indicator to indicate that it is selected. We also have here different cards that uses this kind of pattern. Let's go on to the progress viewer. In game, we have this indicator here. If you go to progressions, you have this view where you can see your top 5 heroes that you play the most, and you have this level that you can level up and get different rewards. You can also change your hero here and so forth. There are a lot of things that I would like to change. What is that? Firstly, I want it to make it easier to look at more heroes than 5. Because, for example, me, I play a lot of heroes. I almost play the entire cast, and for me, 5 heroes is not enough. I also want to create more consistency with other views and add some quality of life feature. So let's look at that. So here we have a screenshot of the progression viewer. The first thing I would like to do is move this change hero button from here to here, because it's a more central tool in the entire page. It's something that you use more than, for example, info or back is some kind of pattern that is used everywhere, and you always know that it's escape and it's secondary information. This is more of primary information. Then I would like to add some kind of effect here, like a gradient or something, to indicate that this is scrollable, also over here. I would also like to add some kind of hover effect on this scrollable wheels or scroll indicator to make it more apparent that it's interactable. Then I would add the ability to scroll this list, because currently it's only 5 items, and you should be able to scroll down to the last one, and also have this kind of selection state here. You can see that, for example, Venture is now selected, Doomfist is selected. And still we have this one. If you want to jump, for example, if you don't want to jump to the 6th person, you want to jump to a specific hero, you can still do that in this version of the menu. There are small quality of life features added with these suggestions. So on to the next part, private profile in social menus. What is that? Yeah, with the latest patch, they added a feature that, for example, if you have a private profile, the view career profile option is removed. That was the reason for it, was that when you choose a player who has a private profile, press this button, and then you get a giant screen where it says that the profile is private and you can't access it. And then they removed it. And a lot of people were like happy, this is really good. It got a lot of buzz on Reddit and nice and everything, but I think we can do better, because they can use an already established pattern that they use on other things. So the proposed solution is to just look at this menu. You have other options that are currently not active. For example, Whisper is not active, disabled, then the view career profile should also be disabled. And the reason why you want to have it left in this menu is that this has almost the same character length as the option that is always, or when you do it on a teammate, is under it. For example, this is the one this is the second option, and this is often the third option. And when this is removed, this takes almost the same amount of characters, which makes it easy to press this one, because the muscle memory of checking career profile is so ingrained into us, so we would just do it by accident, and then Void's teammate gets clicked instead. So add this instead. And when we're talking, also one more thing, when we're talking about profiles, you go into the game, you can see here that if I press left click on this, I go to the profile. But if I go to socials, go to recent players or whatever, and I press left click again, nothing happens. Why shouldn't I be able to go to the public profiles here? The private profiles still, they shouldn't be able to, so nothing happens when I click. But if they have a profile, just click on it and you go to the profile. That's a little bit weird. Just add it. Okay, the next part is about ugly corners. And this is really a me thing, but we're gonna go through it. So there are a lot of this kind of stroke color. It's just used as a left side stroke or a top side stroke, and it has this kind of bend, and I find it so ugly. It's everywhere. You can see it here, for example. You can see it here, indicator. You can see it here. You can see it also as a selection for the event view. And I find this really ugly. And it comes from, I know where it comes from. It comes from when you have an object or a button that has rounding on it. And then you have stroke on this object. And for example, here we have a left stroke and a right stroke. And this is still part of the left side of the object. If we increase the radius, you can see that this is still part of that object. That's why it bends. But I find this really, really ugly. So what do I really want to solve? I want to make it pretty. It's very much a me thing, but okay, let's look. How can it look? So let's go into the ugly corners. You can see here. So let's see here. This is the ugly corners. This is without ugly corners. You can see here that the dark color is into the end of the object, like this. You can also see here, so for example, here we use a stroke outside the object instead. These rounded objects, and these are just part, the top and bottom. Also here, you can see, without this object, these can be increased. I know the copy paste isn't that really good, but you get the idea what I'm trying to tell. And you can be like, this is really pedantic. Why should they do this? They're already doing it. So why don't they do it everywhere? So for example, here in the battle pass, they use it here. The rewards, I think it's the challenge menu. They use it here when you're endorsing people in the loot box view. So what I'm asking you, be more consistent and use the more prettier alternative. Next, let's talk about icons, name cards, and titles. And this is really, really bad. So if we go into the game, we have this kind of interactivity here. We have a lot of different accordions and you can't find anything. And there is so much scroll. And this doesn't do anything. It doesn't really help. And if I have new objects, like for example, player icons, where are they? I want to remove this kind of icon. How do I do that? It's not really easy. Sure, I can search for Pachimari. That is fun. But oh, I have not expanded all. Let's expand everything. Okay, now I can try and find it. Oh, here are some new patterns. This is just bad. We can do it so much better. So, what do we really want to solve? We want to make it easier to select customization. Easier to find stuff, and also increase the incentive to use stuff you unlocked, because you unlock so much stuff and you don't use it. Also, we want to add some quality of life features. So let's look at that. Firstly, what can we do? We can add a mark all as seen button. They have this in the hero gallery or other things, so why not add it here also? Then remove this filter. Have instead a search. You can search for icons, names, you can search for themes, whatever you want. You can add a lot of different search words here. You can even make it a drop down as this one, so you can, for example, drop down and have different heroes or different themes or whatever. Then you have the filter. I've just copy pasted the filter for the skin viewer, but they already have this kind of interface. Use the same kind of interface for the name cards and player icons and so forth. Then we had this kind of accordion view. Why not add a grid view instead, where you don't have any accordions, you have all the icons in a giant grid, but you can sort them by latest or alphabetically or whatever you want. Also, I added, you can have this kind of new, so I can see where, oh, this is the latest objects. We're talking also about different cosmetics. Why not add the ability to pick a random skin, a random icon? So for example, if I pick this, every time I go into a game, it will reset and give me a random, or every time I start the Overwatch client, it will give me a new random player icon. I can also check a random from favorite that either do it also like that, or it resets every game. Also, this kind of pattern with having a button that you can press and add different things to your favorite can also be The problem is though that there are a lot, so they should maybe add some kind of options to reset the favorite list, because it can be really tiresome to find all your favorited icons. This should also be done on the name cards and the player titles, and this incentives the user to use more of what they're using, and it's easier to select more, and therefore they will also use more of the cosmetics. Then we have quality of life features. These are smaller quality of life features that I've added together because they don't really have a theme. It's just smaller things. So the first one was here. These stars, I hate them so much. Let's see. If we go into the skin viewer, so here we have the hitbox for the star. So when you don't hover over it, it's almost on the star, and then you activate. But when the star is big, the hitbox changes, so it's bigger. But why does it have to be this precise? You can use this entire object. You can have an invisible hitbox that for pressing it, presses the bottom of starred. It's so much easier. I don't understand why they have done this. It's really infuriating, and for people who have it hard time selecting smaller things like older people or people with different disabilities, this is not that great at all. So make the hitbox bigger. The next thing is that when you get stuff in the battle pad, that's really nice, or when you buy stuff in the shop, you can equip it. That's nice, but I think a lot of people have favorite stuff. They have a favorite list of skins or emotes or whatever that they want to use, but when they pick the new one, it overrides everything. So they should have an option to add the cosmetic to your favorite list of the current category, for example, skins or voice lines or whatever. You can just add it directly from this view. The next thing is about Battle Pass. So I've not completed the current Battle Pass, and therefore I have copied I took some random screenshots from the internet. So when Battle Pass is completed, you can see here the level to the next step. You can also see where you are. But for example, if I really want to know what level am I have to guess. So I have to know which level this step is, and I know that this is 150. Instead, just add a current level. It's just a text. You can add it there. There's a lot of space. Just add it. Easy. And the last thing is for the role queue. So or queues in general, when I queue for example here for quick play, I can cancel my queue anytime, and that's really great. But when my game is done and I'm in the queue again, I don't have the option to cancel the queue this time. It's some kind of maybe dark design pattern because they want you to play more, but just add a cancel button. It's so much easier. Just add it. The next part is about the voting phase. So what I want to solve is I wanted to make it easier to see what role you are currently queuing for. I'm queuing all roles, because that's something that I do a lot. I play a lot of quick play and I play a lot of all roles. And when I get into the screen, it's hard to know which role I'm playing. So for example, if I like to play Dorado when I'm tank, I need to know what role I'm playing. And surely I can see it here, but this doesn't really catch my eye. So instead we can work a little bit with opacity and the colors. So instead do like this. So we decrease the colors here. We use a more gray, both for the name, which is the same color for the gray and for this loading indicator, because this is not really the primary information. The primary information is me. I want to know which role I'm playing. I want to see my spinning indicator. And also I've changed this indicator to really have more weight here to draw the eye to. This is really the important thing, but this is the second most important. This is a really small thing, but it makes it much easier to see firstly, what role are you playing with the same UI that you have currently. Next chapter is called Wheels, and what we want to solve is use more cosmetics. We want the user to be able to use cosmetics that they own and add some quality of life feature. So currently I have this emote wheel for emotes, but why not have 8 different parts instead of 4? For controller players, you still have the 8 different, you have the diagonal options, and also you have the up, down, left, right options. And here you can add more cosmetics, and also you can do this for the skins. I mean the sprays and the voice lines. Just add 4 more. It gives users more options. And if you feel like, oh, this is really not that what all users want is, add an option to activate it in the settings, so you can activate more options on your wheels. Also, one more thing, add the ability, because you have a lot of random skins, you can random from favorite, and I talked about random from favorite with name cards, random emotes, random souvenirs, random from favorite with voice lines, and also random voice lines, because there are a lot of cosmetics that you get, like you bulk up on cosmetics, especially if you played Overwatch a lot and you don't use them. But I think if we have the options to do more random stuff, they will be used more. And I think it's quite easy to just have this random thing here. So use that. Last thing we're going to talk about is queues. This is really a me thing, but what I really want to solve is that when you're queuing for all roles, it's not really all roles all the time. That is something that is the problem. I want to solve this. So a proposed solution is that when you queue for all roles, you have the options to pick a balanced queue. And what that means is that if you get a game of tank, the next game you get will not be tank. It will be with damage or support. This increases your queue time, but you have an option to activate this or not. Because for me, as a quick play player, if I pick all roles, that means that I play tank. And I play tank for maybe the entire evening. If I play like 4 hours, I play 4 hours of tank. But I want to play all roles. That's why I'm queuing. I want to have the variety. I want to play some damage, I want to play some support, but it means that I play tank. And I think like some options like this for players who are willing to have a little bit more queue time and play a more varied set of roles, this is an option for them. You can also add some kind of information button to inform them what they mean. This is really a rough version of it. Also, when we're talking about queues, this is my opinion. A lot of everything in this video is my opinion, but this is really my opinion. Mystery Heroes should be more of a 1-2-2 format, because currently when it's open queue, you can lose in the spawn, because either the other team gets a perfect composition, you don't get one, and then you die, and they, for the next fight, when you get like a good composition, they have all ults, and then you lose because of that, and then you don't get any support, or you don't get any tank, or whatever. I know it's about chaos and stuff like that, but having like one player being always the tank, but rotating all the tanks, and 2 players being always the support and rotating that, is a much better experience for the default version of Mystery Heroes. And this is my opinion still. Also, if you have games like Control where you go to different points, then it's okay to switch. So for example, if I play tank the first round, I shuffle through a lot of tanks when I die, and the next round I maybe go to support or DPS, and another player goes to tank. So I think that is a better version of Mystery Heroes, because they are really pushing for Mystery Heroes, having it so in this unranked version of Overwatch. That was all my points. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you listened this far, thank you. I hope it will reach someone who can do something about it. That would be super great. I have no hopes at all, I'm sorry for the microphone quality. I'm sorry for my dialect. Yeah, I think that's it. Or one more thing. Do something about this, please. Okay, bye.